Ottoman Syria refers to divisions of the Ottoman Empire within the Levant, usually defined as the region east of the Mediterranean Sea, west of the Euphrates River, north of the Arabian Desert and south of the Taurus Mountains. Ottoman Syria became organized by the Ottomans upon conquest from the Mamluks in the early 16th century into Eyalets of Damascus and Aleppo. Eyalet of Tripoli was formed in 1579 and later Eyalet of Adana was split from Aleppo. In 1660, Eyalet of Safed was established and shortly renamed into Eyalet of Sidon. The Eyalets were later transformed into the Vilayet of Syria, the Vilayet of Aleppo and the Vilayet of Beirut, following the 1864 Tanzimat reforms. History. Before 1516, Syria was part of the Mamluk Empire centered in Egypt. The Ottoman Sultan Selim I conquered Syria in 1516 after defeating the Mamluks at the Battle of Majdabak near Aleppo in northern Syria. Selim carried on his victorious campaign against the Mamluks and conquered Egypt in 1517 following the Battle of Ridanieh, bringing an end to the Mamluk Sultanate. Administrative divisions. When he first seized Syria in 1516, Selim I kept the administrative subdivisions of the Mamluk period unchanged. After he came back from Egypt in July 1517, he reorganized Syria into one large province or eyalet named Sam. The eyalet was subdivided into several districts or sanjaks. 1549 to 1663. In 1549, Syria was reorganized into two eyalets. The northern Sanjak of Aleppo became the center of the new eyalet of Aleppo. At this time, the two Syrian eyalets were subdivided as follows: the eyalet of Aleppo, the Sanjak of Aleppo, the Sanjak of Adana, the Sanjak of Ablistan, the Sanjak of Aintab, the Sanjak of Bayajik, the Sanjak of Kilis, the Sanjak of Mara, the Sanjak of Hama, the Sanjak of Salamia, the Sanjak of Homs, the eyalet of Damascus, the Sanjak of Damascus, the Sanjak of Tripoli, the Sanjak of Safad, the Sanjak of Nablus, the Sanjak of Jerusalem, the Sanjak of Lajin, the Sanjak of Salt, the Sanjak of Gaza. In 1579, the eyalet of Tripoli was established under the name of Tripoli of Syria. At this time, the eyalets became as follows. The eyalet of Aleppo included the Sanjaks of Aleppo, Adana, Marish, Aintab, and Urfa. The eyalet of Tripoli included the Sanjaks of Tripoli, Latakia, Hama and Homs. The eyalet of Damascus included the Sanjaks of Damascus, Beirut, Sidon, Acre, Safad, Nablus, Jerusalem, Gaza, Haran and Man. In 1660, the eyalet of Safad was established. It was later renamed the eyalet of Sidon, and later, the eyalet of Beirut. 1833 to 1840. In 1833, the Syrian provinces were ceded to Muhammad Ali of Egypt in the Convention of Kutayar. The firman stated that the governments of Candia and Egypt to continue to Muhammad Ali, and in reference to his special claim, I have granted him the provinces of Damascus, Tripoli in Syria, Sidon, Saphet, Aleppo, the districts of Jerusalem and Nablus, with the conduct of pilgrims and the commandment of the Churda. His son, Ibrahim Pacha, has again the title of Sheikh and Harim of Mecca, and the district of Jeddah, and father, I have acquiesced in his request to have the district of Adana ruled by the treasury of Taurus, with the title of Mohazal. In this period, the Sublime Porte's firmans of 1839 and, more decisively, of 1856, equalizing the status of Muslim and non-Muslim subjects, produced a dramatic alienation of Muslims from Christians. The former resented the implied loss of superiority and recurrently assaulted and massacred Christian communities, in Aleppo in 1850, in Nablus in 1856, and in Damascus and Lebanon in 1860. Among the long-term consequences of these bitter internecine conflicts were the emergence of a Christian-dominated Lebanon in the 1920s-40s and the deep fissure between Christian and Muslim Palestinian Arabs as they confronted the Zionist influx after World War I. 1861, following the massacre of thousands of Christian civilians during the 1860 Lebanon conflict, and under a growing European pressure, mainly from France, an Ottoman edict issued in 1861 transformed Al-Qaymakmi 18, the former regime based on religious rule that led to civil war, into the Mount Lebanon Mutasarrifate, governed by a mutasarrif who, according to law, had to be a non-Lebanese Christian. 1864 as part of the Tanzimat reforms. An Ottoman law passed in 1864 provided for a standard provincial administration throughout the empire, with the islets becoming smaller vilayets, governed by a vali still appointed by the imperial port, but with new provincial assemblies participating in administration. 1872 to 1918 Indiana 1872, Jerusalem and the surrounding towns became the Mutasarrifate of Jerusalem, gaining a special administrative status. From 1872 until World War I, subdivisions of Syria were Aleppo Vilayet, Sanjak of Zor, Beirut Vilayet, Damascus Vilayet, Mutasarrifate of Mount Lebanon, Mutasarrifate of Jerusalem. The Sanjak Zor and the major part of the Vilayet Aleppo may or may not be included in Ottoman Syria. The Geographical Dictionary of the World, published in 1906, describes Syria as a country in the southwest part of Asia, forming part of the Turkish Empire. It extends eastward from the Mediterranean Sea to the river Euphrates and the Syrian desert, and southward from the Al-Madar, one of the ranges of the Taurus, to the frontiers of Egypt. It lies between the parallels of 31 degrees and 37 degrees north latitude. It comprises the Vilayet of Syria, or of Damascus, the Vilayet of Beirut, the southwest part of the Vilayet of Aleppo, and the Mutasarrifliks of Jerusalem and the Lebanon. Palestine is included in the country, Syria, comprising the Mutasarriflik of Jerusalem and part of the Vilayets of Beirut and Syria. The designation Syria is sometimes used in wider sense so as to include the whole of the Vilayet of Aleppo and the Zor Sanjak, a large part of Mesopotamia being thus added. About Syria in 1915, a British report says, the term Syria in those days was generally used to denote the whole of geographical and historic Syria, that is to say the whole of the country lying between the Taurus Mountains and the Sinai Peninsula, which was made up of part of the Vilayet of Aleppo, the Vilayet of Beirut, the Vilayet of Syria, the Sanjak of the Lebanon, and the Sanjak of Jerusalem. It included that part of the country which was afterwards detached from it to form the mandated territory of Palestine. Contemporary maps showing islets. Contemporary maps showing vilayets.